Hey, good morning everyone, Tractorman 44 here. I'm down just a couple of towns south of me at a place called Ste Genevieve, Missouri, and annually they have a get-together. It's kind of a craft fair, sometimes a car show, sometimes there's a few tractors here and there, but it's called the Jour de Fete. Now this is a French settlement, one of the oldest ones this side of the Mississippi, and Jour de Fete means, I guess, something about a party, you know, but I just really don't know. But I'm gonna walk up through here and just take a shot of a couple of these tractors. I'm not super familiar with the cases, but I did have a couple of these here. I think this is a VA, probably a VAC. I could be just a little bit mistaken on it, but if so, it's on the order of the B, the little B Farmall, which is right here next door. And this B, even though it doesn't have the sticker on it, I suspect is a Cultivision model. If you notice, it's got the clutch and both brakes on the same side, and if you're cultivating row crops, you can see the seat is right in line with the one row that would be passing right underneath your feet, and then of course the second row would be cultivated on the other side of the front end. And here's another. This is definitely a VAC. He's got the VAC sticker on it, and this is a wide one. This is I don't see these very often. Here's a small utility tractor. It's a 350 utility is actually the name on the sticker. He's got a lot of amenities on it, like the Flying Swan hood armor. It's got a rear view mirror. It's got a nice step on it over here. He's actually got I don't even know what that hand lever does there. I'm not familiar with that. But he also's got a setup where we can tow trailers around with the front. And also he's got a clevis on the front, or a shackle on front for binding it down or for pulling something with a shackle. And of course on the back side, he has a lift system fitted with a carryall, which would be kind of handy without a doubt. But he's got it rigged up with some nice lights, as well as some fancy lights on the front end. Next door is an old 4000 Ford. I'm halfway familiar with those. That's actually a Selecto Speed. Selecto Speed was a virtually unlimited number of speeds from 0 to fast, for lack of a different term, and it's converted to 12 volt. You can see it looks like a Denso 12 volt alternator down there, and it's going to be a one wire alternator as well. They're a real good alternative alternator for 12 volt conversions on all these old tractors. And here's a familiar old H, Farmall H. This is a 45 according to the tag. Very similar, almost identical to mine. I think mine's, I can't remember, it's a 41 or a 45. Here's a super nice Super M, very well restored, very well done. This is not the TA, the torque amplifier, but a standard M. Getting into the newer numbers, I'm not real familiar with the newer style of the Farmalls, but it says it's 1959 460. Now here's an old case. I'm not familiar with the case to that extent, but it's a big one. And you can see, obviously, it's going to be a farmer-inspired and farmer-built loader. Really unique. You know, that's back in the day whenever you just didn't go down to the local case store and buy a loader attachment. You know, a lot of times the guys had to come up with what they had to do to make something a little more useful. And the way he's got it set up, it's kind of a hydraulic, but cable operated. He's got the hydraulic pump, and it's got a hydraulic cylinder.
That was way later.
It's got a hydraulic cylinder on it here that goes ahead and turns your cables, or the pulleys, which goes ahead and lifts the front, kind of like the old crawlers with Widowmaker blades with the cables over the top. Just had a few minutes conversation with the owner, and he let me know that this is an LA case. And right next to it is his DC case. It's an older restoration, but that's a pretty sharp tractor. DC cases were notorious for having this front steering arm snapped off. You come to the edge of the field, you know, and don't pull your plows quick enough or whatever, you know, and you come in contact with a tree or a fence post. Here's the big boy of John Deere line. That's a G. I don't know what size the bore is on those things or the stroke, but they are huge. Here's a real nice older restoration on a Farmall H. Right here's a Ferguson, a little Ferguson 30. Handy little tractor. It's been converted to 12 volt. Next is a real sweet D17, Alice Hummer D17. That thing is really sweet, except for where they had bound it down with the chains over the front axle, but you know, it is what it is. You know, you got to haul them safely. This is a very fine example of a M, Super M TA. TA stands for torque amplifier. My brother has a 400 propane with torque amplifier. Superb tractor. I believe the 400, and I might be mistaken about that, but it superseded or was the follower to the Super MTA. John Deere's of every size or any age always draws a crowd, and this is no exception, man. A 4020 diesel. This is an absolute incredible piece of machinery. Over here, sitting all by his lonesome, is a wide front Farmall F12 in very perfectly restored condition. This is probably one of the nicest F12s. Well, it is the nicest F12 I can remember seeing ever at any of the shows. I'm going to tell you a quick and unique story about this piece of property. If you notice, that house is kind of on a little bit of a rise up there. For years and years, we came down here to this Jour de Fete, and this entire area, this entire grassy area where I'm standing with all these tractors sitting around, all the way, pretty much every square inch of every bit of this grassy area, well, over to the property line over that way somewhere or another, it was completely covered with cars and trucks from the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. I don't think I recall ever seeing anything in the 60s or newer, though they might have been. But unfortunately, this area, the river backs up. We're right off of the Mississippi River down here. Like I said, we're very close to the Mississippi River down here, and there's little tributaries that dump into it. And so occasionally the river would back up, you know, periodically, and then these cars would be partially submerged, if not totally submerged. I don't know if it ever got into the house up there at all. It may have in some of the bigger floods we had back in like 93 or whatever. But one day, I guess whatever happened, they settled up on the property, somebody passed away or whatever, and they started hauling the cars off. I have no idea whatever happened to the cars. I've never talked to anybody that ever give me any information as to whatever happened to them. But I'm sure there's going to be there was a great number of rat rods that were produced out of them, because as much as they had been submerged, or as many times they'd been submerged, they probably would have been extremely difficult to bring back to a pristine condition. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, I see the missus standing over there waiting patiently under the shade tree for me. But all up and down the street, virtually every street in the town, they'll have craft booths and all kinds of things, all kinds of food, everything you can imagine. There's a food truck down there. Got live music at both ends of town. Most of the time, I think it's pretty much all country. And of course, they got a guy on the corner with a little, I think it's a John Deere make and break, and he's got it hooked to an ice cream, whatever they call those ice cream machines, and he's making ice cream for everybody. Of course, I'm sure he's charging for it. There you go, automatic ice cream maker. Old fashioned. Yeah, I just talked to the owner there, and he confirmed that it definitely is a set of John Deere engines there on the two ice cream machines. We got here just in time because this batch is done. Oh, I guess not. He's gonna put her back in gear. Look at that, put the idler fully forward. Now, there's booths pretty much up and down every one of the main streets. This is just one of the side streets off of the many. You can obviously see underneath the railroad overpass, there's like a hot dog stand, bratwurst, all that kind of stuff. And that's a pretty good accumulation of people right there trying to get something, because it's right at 12 o'clock. I'd have a tendency to think if you can't find it here, you can't find it anywhere. Well, guys, we're on our way home from the Jour de Fete down in Ste Genevieve, and like I said before, I don't have any idea what Jour de Fete means. What's that mean anyway?
A day of feasting or a day of fun.
A day of feasting and a day of fun.
Right.
Well, we sure had some good lunch down there. There's no doubt about it. And it was a fun time being down there with the missus. So you know what? This is Tractor Man 44.
Good, because you're driving it and you're going over the speed limit. And
Oh, she shouldn't have said that.
Yes.
And we're out of here, guys.